Wall Street protesters are today marching to the district attorney's office in Manhattan, protesting now what they call an over-the-top assault of a protester by police. The site of this protest was also the scene of an epic debate this weekend between Fox Business Network host Charles Payne and a union leader, among others. And it was all caught on tape. Things getting so heated that music mogul Russell Simmons, not to mention Sally Cohn, a Democrat and frequent guest on this program, even jump in. Listen.
In the commercial break, something interesting happened. Art Chiliotis, who represents organized labor with the Communications Workers of America, was kind of mad at Charles Payne. I didn't get why, aside from the fact that he's successful.
Well,
Russell Simmons thinks that was unfair, but go ahead.
Success occurs in a society because of the infrastructure of a society. Some people will excel, but we have to remember that there's a whole matrix of things that happens. For example, government really serves as a foundation upon which commerce, industry, and civil society is built.
But what does that have to do with Charles?
Well, Charles's individual success had a lot to do with the fact that that infrastructure was in place that gave him the opportunity to excel. And he should not, and too many people think
that says to me that you are in support of the institutions.
I think we are in support of government. Absolutely.
Okay, wait. Before I get to Russell, go ahead.
This is what I'm saying. I hear this message that you, the president, Elizabeth Warren, you're trying to say that someone's successful because you rode on a public street. Listen, I started my business in a one-bedroom apartment in Harlem with $10,000 I raised amongst myself and my family and friends. Okay, yeah, you're right, God bless me. And let me tell you something. I bust my ass every day. So the point that I owe someone outside of my parents, my community, my God, that I owe you more of my credit for what I do when I get up every morning at 4 in the morning, it's ridiculous. That's crazy. You're telling people they don't have the power to empower themselves. That's your message. The message is not. I disagree.
That is not my message. My message is one of community. It says that if we all do well, each individual can do well. But unless we all do well,
try to do well.
Of course you have to work.
You got to take a shot.
You have to work.
I got to say something. This argument, it isn't fundamental. It's whether or not we're part of a collective, and then we should be responsible. Even it goes all the way to the health care or the decent education or people who are suffering in poverty. Should we be responsible for them? People out here believe we should be. And they believe that our government, in some cases, should fund decent health care, a decent education, a decent opportunity. And there are others who believe I did it myself. But we know that that isolation they're referring to is a sickness. And we as a society, have to represent the people and the individuals and not the corporations.
Look, you do well in this country, you do well by this country. I don't know, I like Charles. Charles is a great guy. Nobody's questioning his hard work, and frankly, nobody's questioning the hard work of people who do well in the society. The larger issue is that in this country, you can't just work hard and get ahead and do well anymore. That used to be the American dream. Now listen, let's be really, really clear. There are legal structures in this country that are enforced. Your patents, your policy, they're all enforced by our courts, which we pay for. If you drove a product to roads, they're roads that we pay for. Wait a second. Nobody, all I'm saying is, all these people are saying is that we should have an opportunity for other hardworking people to do well. Can Charles...
What percentage of taxes should someone pay to support that? That's all I want to know.
We could talk about, Charles, that's a great question, but right now the wealthy are paying a lower tax rate than that.
Well, Charles Payne, caught in the middle there, joins me live right now. Charles, we wanted to have you on because it was 3 against 1, and you were trying to make your point. You sort of out-shouted by the others because you were outnumbered. What of that last point? You say, look, I started my own business, but they seem to be arguing, as they put it, that are we part of a collective? Should we be responsible for struggling people, or shouldn't we?
And the bottom line is we are. We're the most generous, kind nation in the world. The idea, though, if someone makes $1 million, they're probably paying $500,000, $600,000 in taxes. I would think that
not according to President Obama.
Well, of course, not according to President Obama, but in real life, And again, the notion of calling these billionaire taxes, when ultimately the president is going after households that make $250,000, to put them on the same level is so disingenuous, and economically it's so dangerous. So, by the way, this is a theme we're going to continue to hear, and I want people out there to know, first of all, what they're selling us is hopelessness, guilt, and finger pointing. And this is not what the country was
That
built
if you don't
on.
want to give more of your salary and your earnings
You should feel
to
guilty
the
about
government,
that.
it's
Right.
not to the charity or the causes of your choice, but to the government, that you're a bad person, you don't give back.
On top of perhaps giving 50 or 60% already, if you live in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and you make a high six-figure, seven-figure income, you're giving you're giving a lot of that money back.
They seem to be saying that, we have to help folks who can't help themselves, and that, you had great opportunities, and, you had the wave moved for you, and therefore you
Right.
should help others. What is your story?
I hate that notion that people can't help themselves. I hate that victimization thing. I've seen it too much, and it's the worst thing in the world when someone buys into it. When someone in that park, any of those kids who buy into the notion that they can't help themselves, I feel so sorry for them. Yeah, I started my business in a one-bedroom apartment in Harlem.
Did you grow up with money?
Absolutely not. I had two childhoods. I grew up in the Army as an Army brat, and then my parents divorced, and me and my brother and my two brothers and my mother moved to Harlem. We lived in a bedroom in an apartment in the middle of Harlem in the 1970s. The elevator was broke, crime, murders. You know what? I used to take for granted heat and hot water. As a kid, I never thought about money. When we lived on Army bases, I never once thought about money. I can't remember even asking my parents for money ever. As soon as I was 12, 13, I was the oldest in the family. I had to work. And I would clean windows. I would take a shovel and I would clean the front of businesses. I always had a job.
Do you feel resentful now that you've become successful, that the amount of your salary that's being taken and that others want more?
I feel resentful the amount that's being taken and squandered, on all the things in the world. I feel resentful that someone would try to piggyback my efforts and say, listen, you owe. I know what I owe, and I know what my obligations are, and I have my priorities in order, and I think most Americans do. And all of this whole argument does nothing for our country in a time when we all should be telling others that you can. I thought that was a pledge. Yes, we can. Really, realistically, it's no. If you did, you should be guilty about it, and if you didn't, you don't have a shot at it. That's ridiculous. That's not the American way. I refuse to ever accept that.
Charles Payne launching a radio program today.
Started yesterday, Payne Nation.
Payne Nation. Check
Thanks
it
a
out,
lot.
folks. We appreciate you being here.